Island line. It is a mighty good road. Well, if you want to ride, you got to ride it like you find it. Get your ticket at the station for the Rock Island line.
A, B, C, double X, Y, Z.
The cat's in the corner, but he can't dig me.
On the Rock Island line.
The Weavers were an American folk band. So there was a precursor band called the Almanacs, which was put together in 1940 by Pete Seeger and Lee Hayes. That band stopped when the States joined the war, and in 1948, Pete and Lee recruited Ronnie Gilbert and Fred Hellerman and formed the Weavers. They got popular, but then came the McCarthy era and the Red Scare, and the Weavers were known to have left-wing politics and connections to communist organisations, and so they were blacklisted and put under FBI surveillance. In 1952, lack of commercial opportunity led them to being disbanded. As things eased, they got back together again in 1955, and the turning point of their career was a hugely successful concert at Carnegie Hall, which was recorded and half of it released as an album 2 years later. Over the next few years, they reaped the benefits of resurgence of popularity of folk music, and after a few member changes, disbanded again in 1965. They've had occasional reunions since, and they have released 16 studio albums in total. Hi, my name's Dan. This is a review of the album The Weavers at Carnegie Hall, which was the album that turned their fortunes round. It was recorded in 1955 and released in 1957, and it's my first time listening to it. So I would very happily describe this as folk. Obviously, it's a live album. Very much so folk. It's mostly songs from a mixture of traditions, mostly from Americana, but there's occasional bits of English, South African, Jewish, maybe some other things as well. We've got four voices here who are the four people mentioned in the introduction, I think, if I remember rightly. So three guys, one woman, and an acoustic guitar and a banjo, an occasional fluty thing, something you blow into and make noises. It sounds like either a low whistle or a low recorder, to be honest. There's some good playing and there's some nice singing. Ronnie's so she's the female singer. She's got a fairly posh voice, and to me, that sounds a bit weird in folk songs. I think having kind of fairly posh voices in singing was more prevalent back then than it is now. I think it's fair to say it feels overall a bit kind of cleaned off and made more middle class and more acceptable for a large hall and probably a middle class audience. Feel free to shoot me down on that. Whereas folk obviously is, do I want to say folk is a working class thing? Folk is a people thing, people of all kinds, I guess. But I guess traditionally a lot of folk songs have been about people who haven't got the greatest amount of money. We've got 20 songs. They're all quite short. I knew some of them vaguely and quite a few of them quite well. So I'm going to go through those. I don't usually do that sort of thing, but this feels appropriate this time. I'm going to do them in reverse order for no particular reason. So the last track is Goodnight Irene, which is a Lead Belly track. I know it from a version by Ry Cooder. Hush Little Baby, which I thought was traditional, which is attributed to somebody. When the Saints Go Marching In is definitely traditional. 16 Tons is a Merle Travis track. I don't know where I know it from, but I do know it. I think I've heard at least one or two other versions of this. Whim Away, let's get my finger out of my mouth. Also known more originally as Mbooby. And I've seen it listed as that elsewhere. This is a song that had words added to it in English to become The Lion Sleeps Tonight, which was famously made a hit by Tight Fit. Rock Island Line. So this is another Lead Belly song. For me, there's a superb version of this by Lonnie Donegan, who was an English skiffle player. And yeah, I've played that loads of times. Greensleeves, which is English folk traditionally attributed to Henry VIII. He probably didn't write it. The speculation is that it was probably one of his court musicians who attributed it to him as a tribute to him. It's a bit like, Trump didn't build the Trump Kennedy Center, but he's put his name on it. Pay Me My Money Down. Now, I don't know where I know that from, but I do know that song. So that's a run through of those. It's not a hugely serious album. There's a certain amount of humour that runs all the way through it, but it's done with respect to the songs. So I didn't find like it was mocking the songs. It was just kind of having a bit of fun as they go along. It's entertaining, and the songs are very accessible. So I enjoyed it. I like some folk and traditional stuff. There are some areas of folk that I do enjoy more than this kind of delivery of folk, but it's okay, and I enjoyed it a reasonable amount. So yeah, that's what I think. As always, I'd love to know what you think of this. Excuse me, of this album and of my inability to speak. Of the Weavers, this was obviously a pivotal album for them and for the folk revival, I guess. So tell me what you know, tell me what you think, tell me what you feel. Please leave a comment. But that's it from me for now.
Well,